Well, thanks, Dave, and I want to echo the thanks that he gave to all of our volunteer leaders who just put such countless time and energy into making this thing what it is every year, and it just continues to grow. And so we're grateful for the volunteer passion and grit that they bring to this effort, and we invite you to be a part of that. I want to thank all of you also for being here today, for having the courage and determination to put your principles first at a time, quite frankly, and in a city where so few seem to have any principles at all. I'm here to tell you that you found your people. And look, we're under no illusions here. We know it will not be easy to right this ship. We are in dire straits as a country, and we are clear-eyed about that challenge, but we are ready for the battle that is here and that is coming, because it's going to be a long one. And if you take one thing away from this weekend, I hope it is this: we will not bend the knee. Bending the knee is just not in our DNA here at Principles First, because politics is not a personality cult for us. Our loyalties aren't that cheap. Politics to us is about defending the principles that make America, America, the things that make us unique, that have made us the envy of the world and has provided hope to billions for years and years. I mean, we actually believe in things, for instance, like the idea that a person should be judged on merit and the content of their character. Okay, but MAGA sure doesn't believe in that, and let me tell you why. If they did, they would not put Fox News host Pete Hegseth at the Department of Defense to lead that agency. And they sure as heck would not have put resident crazy person Kash Patel to lead the FBI. That is not a system of merit, despite what they may say. That is cronyism, and we ought to call it out every chance that we get. They do not belong in those positions. We also believe in fighting corruption and enforcing our laws, particularly when those in power are the ones who break them. And let me tell you, folks, we have got a big corruption problem in Washington, D.C., and frankly, in the halls of power throughout this country. From Bob Menendez, to Eric Adams, to Donald Trump, to Rod Blagojevich, I mean, you name it, Rudy Giuliani. It really doesn't matter the party. Our problem is not some fictitious deep state that is weaponized against these poor politicians. Our problem is that so many of the damn politicians are breaking the law. At Principles First, we say, if you break the law, you should face the consequences for that action. No matter who is in power, quit cutting sweetheart deals and pardoning your friends. That is not rule of law. That is misrule by men, and our founders warned us about it from the day our country began. But thankfully, I mean, there are prosecutors out there, we've seen in SDNY, and I'm sure we'll see more, Danielle Sassoon, Hagen Scotton. These people have said, they've stood up publicly to say, we would rather resign these positions than be forced to violate our consciences and the Constitution. That is a Principles First move, and we ought to give it up for them. I could go on and on here, but the bottom line is this: these are just not serious people. They're not serious people, and they don't deserve to lead a serious country like the United States of America. And so it falls to us in this room and rooms like it across the country to re-inject a level of seriousness and substance back into our politics because the incompetence and the chaos and the nonsense is going to kill us. It will literally cost American lives, and it is creating chaos in Europe, we're seeing, around the globe. There simply is not enough focus on the needs of the American people and on presenting a vision for the United States over the next 5-10 years, because we are in a moment of chaos. Instead, what we see is a politics focused on the whims of a single man and his ego. Well, I guess it's actually two men now, given Elon Musk. Sorry, JD, sorry. This summit, though, is about saying enough of that. Enough is enough, and we need to start offering an alternative to that chaos, because it clearly is not enough to just point out how crazy it all is. That's why our theme this year is American principles and priorities, because there are a lot of challenges that the country has to tackle. Americans are being crushed by the soaring cost of living, from housing to health care to food. But instead of inviting global competition, reducing barriers to trade that drive up consumer prices, we got a government that is hiking tariffs on our allies, and then in their spare time renaming the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, that, I gotta tell you, is not gonna do one single thing to reduce the consumer prices that people have to pay every single day. It's just not gonna cut it. Look, and America's students are also failing and falling behind, and the consequences of that will be severe long beyond where we are today, for generations to come. But rather than focusing on solutions to that problem, too many politicians are fixed on performative debates over banning books. Okay, we need to insist on excellence in education by increasing teacher pay, making teaching a profession like it ought to be, and taking it seriously. Otherwise, every long-term challenge that we face is only going to worsen. I think education is at the heart of a lot of the challenges that we are seeing. But perhaps worst of all is the damage being done to our standing in the world and to what the idea of America has always represented, of freedom and liberty, not just here, but around the globe. Authoritarians, I mean, you don't need me to tell you, authoritarians are on the march all around the world, and yet we have a president of the United States carrying their water, claiming just this week that the Ukrainians started this war. And we also have a vice president who went to Munich and stood before Europe and Ukraine to lecture the Ukrainians about why war is bad and they just need to stop fighting. Like, what are they thinking? They just need to just stop. Let's be clear. Every Ukrainian is defending their families, their homes, their lives on their land. Their kids have been killed. Their hospitals bombed, their fields destroyed. The Ukrainians are not fighting just to fight President Trump, J.D. Vance. They are fighting for survival. And all the death and expense would stop today if Putin would pull his cannon fodder troops out of Ukraine. But Putin does not care about the senseless slaughter of all of those innocent lives. Instead of lecturing Putin on the human costs of his war, this administration has the gall to lecture Ukraine. And now we'll meet with Putin without any Ukrainian buy-in to negotiate what I'm sure will be some capitulation that the Ukrainians would rather die than accept. It is sickening to me as an American to hear what we have heard in recent weeks, and I hope it is sickening to all of you, because it is completely anathema to every moral value that I thought that my country believed in. JD and Donald Trump ought to be ashamed of themselves for their conduct with respect to this war and the foreign policy challenges that it has created, because it is going to sow chaos around the world if they keep this up for much longer. Now look, we in this room today have to be clear-eyed about the challenge that we face and the fight ahead, because it is going to be a long one. It is not going to be solved in one cycle, 2 cycles. This is a generational fight. And let's be clear, the fight is not to save the Republican Party. The fight is to save our country. The Republican Party had its choice, and it chose isolationism, corruption, entertainment populism, a con man, and victimhood. It chose a lot of victimhood. The only question now is for the rest of us. What are we going to do about it? I think this summit is the beginning of that answer. And at Principles First, we aim to unite the broad majority of Americans who still believe that America's greatness lies in its liberal foundation of individual rights and human freedom, of limited government power, equal justice under law, free enterprise, and the rule of law, truth and reason, the Constitution, honesty and basic facts, decency in public life, and character-driven leadership. All of these things that used to not be part of our political debate are now right at the center of what is at stake when we go into the ballot box. These are the things that we are rendering our verdicts on when we go into the ballot box as voters. And we have to take it seriously because they are under assault from all sides. And if we want to stay the America that we know and love, we have to defend it at every chance that we get. And it could take a generation to defend these things. And there is no guarantee that we will be successful, as we have seen. This is not a preordained outcome. But now is not a time for summertime soldiers. We cannot run away from this fight that history, quite frankly, is thrusting upon us. We cannot turn back on the America that we know and love. We have to run towards the fray. And folks, I'm here today to tell you, this right here, where you are today, this is the fray. Welcome to the fray. And welcome to the Principles First Summit in 2025, our 5th one ever. May God bless you, and may God bless the great United States of America. Thank you.